Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Scary Bad Reviews, and this is my intro. So, it's been about a week and a half, maybe a week and some change since I posted the last episode with my sister, and just letting you guys know that the time has finally come. We've officially made it. It is spooky season. Today is October 1st while I'm recording this, and I usually have a tradition personally of going through and reviewing one movie every single day of the month of October. And I said, well, this will merge very well with the podcast and the way that I've been running things as of lately. So during the month of October, instead of posting an hour-long podcast every single week, I'm going to be posting much shorter reviews of a movie every single day. Now, on top of this, my first year that I did this, I just did 31 movies that I had watched right off the top of my head. Last year, since it was my second year doing it, I did all sequels. This year, my theme that I'm going with is Monster Madness. Every single movie that I do this month is going to be centered around a monster as the villain. Some monsters will be repeated as monsters have gotten reboots and other things along the way, but I will be centering all of my movies around one monster and not only going over the movie itself, but along the legacy and the impact of the monster and how, reviewing the monster itself, not just the movie. So, to start this month off, I had watched this movie recently when I was back home one weekend, and I didn't talk about it yet, and I think now is a perfect time to completely tear apart Godzilla, the 1998 reboot of it. I'm going to go ahead and give anybody a warning that watches this podcast or listens to me speak that has small children around or doesn't like foul language, because this review is probably going to get vulgar. Because, to start things off, this movie was a pile of steaming hot dog shit. This movie was absolutely horrible, top to bottom. There is no positive about this movie when I sat down and watched it. The best way to sum up this movie was while I was sitting watching this with my father, we had paused it to take a break to grab some snacks, use the restroom, whatever. And I said, when I hit play on this and look at the timestamp, if there is any more than 25 minutes remaining in this movie, I'm going to kill myself. Looked at the timestamp, and there was another hour and 15 minutes. We both looked at each other and just began laughing our asses off. While we did sit through that remaining hour and 15 minutes, both of us dreaded every second of it and found no enjoyment out of any of it. The movie stinks. There's really nothing good about it. I mean, the casting is all over the place. Matthew Broderick was not the person to put in here. This is just a recency bias from his success in 90s movies. Having him be this quirky, unorganized, likable scientist that's supposed to help take out Godzilla or figure out what he is, just doesn't work. He just seems like he forgets his lines. The way that they've written them makes him seem super forgetful, disorganized, all over the place, and it makes Broderick look like he's doing a bad job at acting. And he's not. He's just doing what's written for him. His connection with the young lady in the movie, who is played by, hold on one second, let me look some things up real quick. The young lady in the film is played by Maria Patillo. There's literally no connection between them as much as they try to force it throughout the entire movie, because you have to remember that in Godzilla movies, after Godzilla's present, he's always there. So there are times where they are trying to force this relationship between these two down our throats. And I remember saying this directly during the movie. They're having this intimate moment. Godzilla's been in New York for 5 days at that point. They hadn't made any advances on killing it. And they're worried about their relationship? There is a goddamn dinosaur loose in the middle of New York City, and this movie decides to give us 6 or 7 minutes of them trying to pick apart a past relationship. What the fuck were they thinking? Like, it made me so furious so often, the decisions that they made in writing the plot for this movie, that I honestly started laughing out of insanity. I was not laughing in a way that I can usually laugh at a campy movie that has bad effects, because sometimes there's a sort of self-awareness to it. This movie took itself so seriously and did everything so utterly fucking wrong that I couldn't take it anymore. I just snapped. Every single little thing in the movie was making me laugh out of pure hysteria. I mean, there was nothing good about the movie. Even Godzilla in this movie, herself, looked like pure shit. The Godzilla in this movie looked like a ripoff of a raptor from Jurassic Park. I mean, they made it look exactly like a dinosaur. They didn't make it look like Godzilla. There was no evidence of genetic mutation due to radiation. There was no evidence of this being some creature that's always been here. No, it just looked like a goddamn dinosaur. On top of that, you then have this storyline that once Godzilla's out of the way, there's all of her fucking children who were, of course, born in the subway of New York City. So now you have basically Jurassic Park 1.5 happening in the middle of New York, which is unoriginal. They have this huge fight scene in the middle of Madison Square Garden because, of course, that's where a bunch of eggs are laid as well. All of the little babies look smack like the raptors from Jurassic Park. I mean, literal pixel for pixel copycats. And they're in there just trying to shoot at these things and trying to run away from them and just running in circles for 45 minutes in Madison Square Garden. And it's just infuriating. I mean, it's making me mad now trying to recap this movie because of how bad it is and how serious it took itself. Like I said before, when movies are bad, there's a sort of campiness and there's a sort of self-awareness that you can have to say, okay, you know, this movie isn't the greatest, but there's some good qualities in it, or hey, this is kind of funny to watch. This movie is so bad to the point of that it's upsetting. Like, you just look at it, and it's... A lot of people would never think that they would say they'd rather watch the 50s and 60s originals where you have just dudes dressed up in costumes pushing each other over 2-foot-tall buildings to try to make it look to scale. But those movies are better than this. This movie was just absolutely horrible. I mean, I saw no positive out of it. The only reason that I'm not going to give it a 0 is because they finished a movie that was, what, $165 to $170 million. Yeah, $130 to $150 million in the budget. They somehow made $380 million in the box office, and it's just disgraceful. Like, I mean, this was just bad. It was horrible. Like, it just makes me so upset. It was nominated for Worst Picture at the Razzies when it came out. It won Worst Supporting Actress. It won Worst Remake. It was nominated for Worst Director and Worst Screenplay. I mean, it was terrible. It was such an awful movie, and they were going to try to attempt to use this to continue a new series of Godzilla movies starting in the late 90s, and they couldn't because of how bad this movie was received. If you are looking to watch a movie with a successful monster, or even something campy and fun with a monster for Halloween, do not start here. I am simply starting here for the month to try to get this off my chest because it drives me insane every time I think about it. This movie is fucking horrific, and it makes my blood boil thinking about it. Do not sit down and watch this movie if you have any inkling to enjoy yourself, as it will be a long 2.5 hours of pure fucking dread. I apologize for my language throughout this video, but this movie makes me so mad. God bless America. So now that the review is out of the way for today, just kind of recapping, there will be movies every single day this month. Like I said, I'm keeping this along a Monster Madness themed run. Tomorrow I'm going to be covering the new version of Godzilla, the 2014 version of it, which I hope I can review even the slightest bit better than this Godzilla that I just did today. Every day that I review something, I will let you guys know what I'm reviewing the next day, so that way you guys can keep up. I'll also be posting a schedule on the Instagram page that I run that's the same moniker as this. And I hope you guys are enjoying this. Happy spooky season, and thanks for listening.